Okay, we have show and tell.
Well, this is my mom's.
Yeah, do you want to start?
You really need to have the single hole straight.
Is she gifting that to you?
She
is.
Oh,
Merry Christmas to me.
I have one daughter and one sister and four sister-in-laws. So I make them table runners or table toppers. That's Sarah's.
Let's see the one I think.
Oh,
These are for small things.
Sister-in-laws. This is for another sister-in-law. But it's AccuQuilt.
Oh, is it? It's great.
It's the
It says Hunter Star.
Hunter Star.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Yeah.
I got and it's they were all quilted here. So I love this.
Thank you. We love having you with us.
This is
I
like
this.
this.
Chest runner.
Oh my goodness.
Because I've got a quilt that has the same stars.
Oh, that's pretty.
That's pretty. Is that leftover fabric from the quilt or?
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Perfect.
And then
I
it's
like the back. Yeah, that's pretty too. That's beautiful. It's colors are so
very
pretty.
pretty. And you searched the edges off too, or did we?
You did it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then this isn't AccuQuilt, but
No,
this is
those are-
OESD.
So who has an embroidery machine?
I have an attachment. That's all thread.
That's all.
It is?
Yeah,
Oh
what?
my gosh, really?
Yes.
There's the back.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Isn't that
Beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, those, I love embroidery machines because you thread it, you hit a button, and then you go, look what I did.
Yeah.
So,
And if you have your other machine behind it, while this is stitching out, you can do the quilting.
yeah, you can do the quilting at the same time.
So pretty.
And you have it finished in time to hang it up. Nice.
I haven't decided whether I'm gonna get it framed or if I'm just gonna put a backing and a sleeve on it.
Well, didn't you say that you're gonna be doing something with OESD next year?
Next year we are doing OESD's, we call it School of Embroidery. So if you have a machine and you want to learn some new techniques like freestanding lace, tile, that's called tiling, what you did there. Projects in the hoop, so like Kimbermill makes mug rugs and all kinds of stuff. OESD does as well. OESD does 3D projects, so they have freestanding pumpkins for Halloween and fall that you just kind of put them together. And so I don't know what the fee is going to be for the class yet. We haven't received the patterns from them yet. So it'll be, first one will be sometime in January.
Will they do a beginner class for embroidery?
This is what that's for.
Oh, okay, because I have an attachment for my beginner, and I took one class and everybody knew what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing, so I really didn't learn how to do it.
Yeah, so.
I have the one from underneath the embroidery. I didn't think, wow, I'll never use it. But the more I see of it, the more I think,
I am a big fan of embroidery. So I went all in. I got a commercial machine. That is an embroidered quilt.
Oh, really?
Yep. So that's a great scrap buster. It is one pattern. It's the oak and acorn. And so that is done with the embroidery machine. You put your fat quarter down on the hoop, and then it stitches the outline. And then you put the next fat quarter right on top of it, and it stitches it again, and then you trim it, and then it zigzags over it. And so you have this really, you know, and those took probably, on my machine, those took maybe 10 minutes. So it goes really fast. And I have a great big hoop, so, but a lot of the embroidery machines that are out now have jumbo hoops where you can do that size, and that's a king, I think.
see of all of them in here, I kind of like that. I love that.
The log cabin.
I love
I wish I could say that one was made with AccuQuilt, but it wasn't. I actually did that one the old-fashioned way, and trust me, the AccuQuilt way is better, by far, because it was cut, trim, sew, trim, sew, trim. And I actually was inspired. I went to an auction and they had a quilt that was blue and brown like that, and it was all vintage. It was old. The quilt went for like $600, and you know, this is a long time ago, and I was like, I can't, you know, spend $600. I probably spend that much money trying to find all these vintage fabrics to recreate it, but and then I quilted that on a long arm. That was my first and only foray into using the templates on the back of the long arm. It was not for me, so that's the only one I ever did that way. Okay, anybody else show and tell? You got all your blocks?
I just have my blocks.
So you had mentioned that you're getting better at the tiny pieces. What are you doing that's different?
Well, I'm not using a 9mm machine.
Okay.
And I've read online that a lot of times the 9mm pull the fabric in, because I had a single hole plate on, but I found when I'm trying to do small things, so I got out my featherweight, and what a difference. It just, you know, was so much easier. So
What size needle do you use?
80-12.
Okay.
80-12. It was like night and day. I mean, I thought these came out really nice, and so I don't know.
So I know you stitch on a straight stitch machine, your Juki, and the featherweight is a straight stitch machine. And so the main difference, especially if you sew fast like I do, there's no movement in the needle bar in a straight stitch machine. There is a little, it fits into a, it's almost, I want to say grommet, that's not the right word for it. It has a guide. So the needle bar does not budge at all. It just goes straight down. So it's not that noticeable, but when you have a, when you compare straight stitch stitches on a straight stitch machine to a zigzag machine, so the straight stitch machine stitches are going to be perfectly straight, and the zigzag is going to be at an angle. They're going to sew in a straight line, but the stitch is going to be just a little bit angled. And I don't know if that's what causes that to get punched down into the throat plate on when you're sewing triangles, but yeah.
I have my Bernini here and I have my featherweight here, so we'll just
Well, I had a 5mm Bernini also, so I should try it with the 5mm. That's when I bring places and see if there's a difference.
There is actually,
the 9mm does tend to do that.
there is a difference when, so, and even Bernina will tell you, so they came out with the 735 machine. And it's a 5mm machine. And so it is less likely to push the fabric down into the throat plate. So
I learned something.
Yeah.
they're beautiful.
Anyway, they were much easier this time with my featherweight. I was ready to give up.
yeah, I mean, so that's just a testament to, you know, even though we have all these great big machines, those zigzag machines, don't get rid of those straight stitch machines, because they actually do serve you very well.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to teach. I have two twin granddaughters that are 7, and one of them is itching to sew, and I've got featherweights for them. So.
Well, thank you for teaching them. That's
well. One of them is. She was on my lap. We made a little tutu, and she was doing the pedal. But the other one isn't ready yet. But we're going to start.
Yeah, we've got a couple of really young sewers that, and they're a delight. So, I think the youngest one started at 5. So she just got to steer. Grandma ran the pedal, and they sewed really slow, but yeah. And she is just adorable. There was a jelly roll. She came in and she's like, "Will you save this for me?" But so this month's blocks, we have 3 of them. Let me get them all out. This one, you have to make sure your 1/4 inch is accurate on this. This is an 8-inch block, should finish to 8 inches. If you're off by a 1/16, by the time you get to, you'll be off by 1/2 inch. So, if you're using a zigzag machine, take your ruler and set it under your needle and line it up with that, line that up wherever your guide is, because this one will trip you up. I actually did do, it's a lot of piecing. If you want to use the 1.5 inch strip die, I haven't tested it with the amount of fabric that we have, so it shouldn't take too long to zip through these.
I have a question about the 1.5 inch die.
Okay.
The one I have has 3 sizes on it. Is that the only one that has 1.5 inch on it?
No,
There is-
there's
is
a
that-
1.5 that has 5 strips on it.
Okay, there is one, okay.
Yes.
I'm doing a project that's all little small square, 1.5 inch squares.
Yeah.
There is one, okay.
So, same way. You have a 1.5 in your cube. You have die number 2 is 1.5. So if you want to actually cut the squares, so makes it a little easier. Strip piecing this would be easier, but didn't have time to figure out that math. So that one, I do want to show you, the only one I really want to show you and go over is this one, okay? We've done projects. Did everybody do the pineapple sampler with us? No, okay. So I think this was used in one of our past projects, and now I'm trying to find the die. I know I pulled it out because it's not in here. It's buried. So in the 8-inch cube, there's only one shape on this, and you have, and I think I calculated the fabric wrong, you need 4 of each color, okay? So you're gonna have a little bit of extra for this. So actually, I think I might even be able to go this way. Not quite. So you're just gonna fold this one down. Put it in, line it up with your die. Make sure that it's covered. I don't have lines drawn on this one yet. And we're gonna cut as many as we can. I didn't actually have this die at home to look at it when I was working on the pattern last night. And so, in the 8-inch cube, it has one shape on the die. So it makes it a little bit different to cut. Has anybody used this shape in their quilting?
Is that this one? Yeah, I have.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the Hunter Star.
It's in the Hunter Star. Does it have more than one shape on the die, or is it just the one?
They have, for this one, there's
There's 2.
two. One's an AR and one's just an A.
In the 8-inch cube, it has just the one shape, and it's covers most of the die. And so, even though we're not using it, I'm going to show you when you're using the 8-inch cube and you have 4 of them to cut, the way you manipulate your fabric to do that is you're actually going to fold it like this and then fold it like this and lay it across that shape to cover it up. Does that make sense to everybody? So this one, you don't have to worry about it. It is a really cool shape. You can make really fun blocks with it. This would make a great X&O quilt too. We do it a lot with the that shape. It's the signature block die. So it's a square with the corners rounded out. So it's just a big rectangle kind of looking thing. But this is another way to do the XNO quilt. So a lot of fun, easy to make. It's a very versatile piece that goes into your quilts if you design. Does anybody else design their own?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Confident in that.
Okay.
I will someday.
You will. Did you know that AccuQuilt on their website has a quilt design module so that you can go in and, you know, put in your quilt, and it's supposed to calculate the fabric for you. And I haven't done a comparison, so I use AccuQuilt to design. So I'll go in and put it in with AccuQuilt and put it in AccuQuilt and see if there's any difference between what AccuQuilt is telling you to cut and what AccuQuilt tells you to cut. Does anybody else have AccuQuilt? No. It's pretty solid. It's what I do this in. So all of the quilts that we've done, most of the quilts that we've done, I've done in AccuQuilt. So we've got this block, this one. We've already cut this shape out in a larger block, I think. Yeah. So we're just repeating it in a smaller one. And this one. It's not bad. It's not. Any questions over any of these blocks? Or I should say, what questions do you have? What about any of our previous blocks?
You know, the one that I said, oh, I didn't like how the narrow ends came in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I looked at that block and I just looked and looked and looked, and finally I went back and I had not swirled where it all met.
Yeah.
So I did.
And it just flattened right out.
So that's important.
Yeah.
And it really was on the easy to swirl.
Yeah, you've done it too. Or did you press your seams open?
Well, I thought you said to press all the seams open on this.
You can.
Oh, I thought you said to.
It reduces bulk. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. I typically don't.
I usually don't, but I thought you said to.
Yeah.
Do it on everything, so.
AccuQuilt does.
Oh.
AccuQuilt does tell you to press your seams.
Yeah. Maybe that's where I read it, but I normally don't do that because I was told that it's not as sturdy.
So there's a couple of factors there. So like most sewing machines, the default stitch length is 2.5 millimeters, which is kind of a big stitch. If you press your seams open and you use that quilt over time, the batting is going to wick up between those stitches if they're pressed open. So I wouldn't go back and change it. In quilting, I usually use a 1.8 millimeter stitch, just as a standard, because it's a little bit harder to take it out if you have to unsew, but as a standard. So if we're doing, say I wanted to do this block and I used my strip die, cut in strips, sewed 8 strips together, and then cut them again. If you use a 2.5 millimeter stitch, those stitches will start popping. If you use a 1.8, they stay intact because they're just close enough together. So if you've ever done that where you sew and then cut what you've sewn, then and the stitches popped, make your stitch smaller. Doesn't really use a lot more thread.
Like more jello.
Yeah.
Because some of those strips when you got them were only 1/4 of an inch wide.
Yeah.
The standard is isn't it on the machine 2.5?
Yep.
Oh, so you're saying to use 1.8. Oh.
Yep, change that stitch length to 1.8. I wouldn't go any smaller than that because then you're going to start shredding the fibers in your fabric. But 1.8, you'll be fine. Okay. Everybody looks like we're ready for a nap in here.
It is.
Sarah's always cold, so she's enjoying
Okay, well, that's all I have. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so
it. Or is that
Is
the
this-
last? No,
One
because
more.
we've got one
This is
more.
month 7, we
The
got
big-
one more.
The
Yeah,
flying geese, right?
there's
The
a-
diamonds.
the diamonds, which are flying bees.
So that'll be in January, I'm gonna be gone in January.
Okay.
Will they hold my?
Yep, they absolutely will.